today with Dr. Gosnell, and we are going to talk about chiropractic care. First of all, I want to thank you so much for tuning into my channel, taking the time to listen. I'm a certified health and wellness coach, and I love to bring different information to you just to let you know all of the things that we can add to our healthy lifestyle to give us quality of life. I want to thank you for taking this time with us.
Thanks for offering.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. I've been trying to get together with him, but he's a little bit busy. But anyways, better late than never. So first of all, I would like for you to share with us why you got into this in the first place. Why did you want to become a chiropractor?
Great question. This is my sister, if you don't know. But we grew up with chiropractic care from the day I was born. My grandfather was a chiropractor, two of his sons, two of my uncles, my cousin. So we grew up in the chiropractic environment, didn't we?
Fortunately.
Yeah, it's very fortunate. But it wasn't a burning desire that I always wanted to be a chiropractor. So growing up, I appreciated chiropractic tremendously. That was really what we understood about healthcare.
Well, that's all we knew.
That's all we knew. And so I say to some of my patients, we were born kind of on the other side of the tracks because we were on the side of more of natural healing. Most of my patients grew up on the other side of the tracks, which is more of a medical model. Whenever we were having any issues, we played sports a lot, or we were sick, mom was dragging us to the chiropractor, right? And so we were getting treated. We knew that if we had some fall, or which I had a lot of, you probably had some too, that we knew that we might have caused some misalignment in our spine, which we understand can have a lot of effect on our health. It was just our lifestyle. But anyway, my first career was in recreational vehicles, motorhomes, campers, boats. I loved it. It was a great career, and I felt like that I was really helping people with quality of life because a lot of my customers wanted to sell their house, buy a camper, travel the world. But what I started noticing as I was working through that career, that too often people plan financially more than they plan physically. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is by the time that they got to the retirement age, unfortunately, a lot of the people didn't have the quality of life to be able to venture and do those type of activities there. I remember a couple of specific incidences that they were selling their motorhomes or campers because they just didn't have the quality of life to do that. Subconscious started working and realized, I really know a way to help people to have a better potential to live longer. And it's not always longer, it's more about the quality of life that we live, right? For whatever time frame, we want to be able to enjoy life and be able to experience things. So I'm in my early 30s, and so it was, a little lifestyle change. That's right.
But it's never too late to start a new career.
That's right. Absolutely.
As long as you're breathing.
And don't give up on your kids. Went into the chiropractic world. This is something that I really appreciated, and I knew I could help people with that. I find there's a lot of similarities to those two careers because, like I mentioned, I felt like I was really helping people experience a better quality of life in the recreational vehicle area, and also in chiropractic, helping people to experience a better quality of life, a much better chance of being able to enjoy their retirement. And can you imagine that at 60 years old, because spinal disability is the leading cause of disability in senior citizens there, and living 40 years physically impaired, it's really, right? Short answer, a long answer to a short question there.
No, but good stuff. Interesting analogy too with the living life, with the recreational vehicles compared to the chiropractic aspect. And, that's really what I teach is mind, body, soul, and all of these pairings.
Absolutely.
And so they definitely have a lot of similarities. So you were talking to me, we talked a little bit before we started, and what is kind of the nitty gritty target for your practice and what you're doing for people?
I would say functionality. When I started chiropractic college in a freshman class, it's very typical that they'll ask, I don't know if it's just to kill time or actually just to kind of get people engaged in why they're there, right? And so they'll ask and they'll go around the room and ask them why they got into chiropractic care. I thought that everyone was going to chiropractic care to just, because they had enjoyed, chiropractic lifestyle. They understood how it affected our immune system and enhanced our general life, that it was an experience that they had grown up with. Well, I was wrong. All of the stories that everybody told was that, for example, like maybe they were a basketball player in high school, right? And they had an injury and the doctors told them that, we've helped you the best that we can. Your back limitations are going to keep you from being able to go on to your collegiate sports or whatever. And I saw a chiropractor, and after a short period of time, I'm back back on the court. Or I had a car accident, and I was having headaches that were debilitating, and I was taking medications, and the side effects were worse. And after a series of chiropractic treatments, that changed my life because I realized I wasn't going to have to live with these. And so all these stories, and I'm like, well, that's great, but they, again, fortunately, they moved in that direction. And if they didn't experience that, their life would have been a lot different. A lot of times when people say, well, I move, that's correct. But a lot of times you can have certain segments in the spine that aren't moving in conjunction with the rest of your spine. And in between the vertebra are discs, and the discs are the cushions that our spine moves around. And they have a certain amount of fluid in them. And the reason they keep supple and keep hydrated is because between the vertebra, that disc gets the pumping fluid is called imbibement. Imbibement causes the fluid to flow in and out of that, keep it hydrated. And so if you have a restriction that's not moving properly, that fluid flow is going to halt, and it's going to start becoming dehydrated. When it becomes dehydrated, then it becomes compressible, and then we start seeing the spaces between the joints become less. You start seeing arthritic changes. The nerves that branch out of those areas could be going to our muscular system, branches to our organ functions and different things, and that's where we start seeing some of the lack of function and lack of health.
So I have my own stories, and just profound, and I'm thankful that this was all we knew, honestly. I would wake up, and I remember I had an ear infection, and Mom took me to the chiropractor. And then I remember I got in a car wreck and I had whiplash. And the first thing we did was we went to a chiropractor, and I had to go 3 times a week for a period of time. But what was even more vital than that is when I started having, I guess, sciatic nerve impingement or whatever that would be called. And I came to see you, and it was so severe. It became so severe, I would feel it all the way down the back of my leg to my ankle. And you discovered that I had an S-curve, scoliosis, whatever. And you actually had advised me, like it was so bad, you had advised me to go to this place in Louisiana that had back brace with compression chambers to help to manipulate that back into place. But I homeschooled 3 children, and there was no time, there was no money. And I said, you know what, let's just pray about it, and I'm gonna trust you to handle this. And so we did it for 6 months, and that was years ago, and I don't have that issue. Now, I don't know what my spine looks like, but I don't feel that.
Right. Well, a lot of times it takes a small change to make a big difference there. We don't realize just, how close all of the nerves, the muscles, the ligaments and tendons, there's just very, very small change can cause symptoms or no symptoms there. Also, we have to keep in mind that sometimes it's taken a while. We call it a pain threshold, to where pain here, no pain here. And so, it could have taken years to get to that point. And that's one reason that chiropractic is successful as far as with symptomatically is that, that we were able to reduce some of the pressure off that area with some of the decompression that we did, being very specific with helping to realign the vertebra. So that took the pressure. Now we're this side of that pain threshold, but what people have to understand is sometimes you also could be close to dancing on one side or the other of that pain threshold, right?
Absolutely.
And so lifestyle, you don't want your only physical activity to be driving from, getting out of your house, getting in the car, and walking up the ramp to my office, right? So we need a food that can help to decrease some of the inflammation in our body, right? Stress, so we're, body, mind, and soul. So we want to make sure that, stress has a huge impact, and not that you ever have any of that, right? So when we can help people physically to, get on this side of it, it's also very encouraged that they're a participant with good physical exercise that are specific to that issue, helping to reduce the inflammation, nutritionally, and also just good thought process on helping that we can decrease some of that stress level. Just so many amazing effects that can have on us as well.
And it made such an impact in my kids' lives too. And fortunately, they grew up mostly here, and so we got to come and see Dr. Gosnell. He's 30 minutes away from me, but it was definitely worth the drive.
What's up, guys?
Anytime that they had, whether it was headaches or colds or, any of those things, I don't know, we just always would pack them up and bring them here. And then the duration seemed to be much less.
Absolutely.
Are spinal related conditions the only thing that you're helping with?
That's typically our initial focus. You can be the first to come into my office and say, the reason I'm here is just to enhance my spinal potential. I want to optimize my physical health. We do have some people that maybe have moved here from other areas that have appreciated that, and they're like, man, I got to get connected with a chiropractor when I get here. But most of the time, it's a pain-related situation that makes them give us a call. I had a fall, had these headaches, I had a sciatic issue down my leg. A lot of times, they're not going to put some other conditions on the form that they fill out here for what's going on, because they don't think it's a chiropractic thing.
Right, they don't know what they don't know.
Exactly. This is an interesting example. I had a patient recently. I was getting ready to treat him for the second time, and he set up, kind of a country guy says, I got to ask you a question. I'm like, okay, what's happening? Can this have any effect on the way I pee? I'm like, why? What's happened? He says, because it's usually hard for me to empty my bladder, and I pee like a racehorse the other day. And I'm like, absolutely. He said, you got a lower back issue. The nerves that branch out from the lower back area can affect the bladder. A few people with regularity issues that are, constipated or irritable bowel issues that said, Doc, I didn't mention this when I first saw you, but my regularity has gotten a lot better, and that pressure seems is probably helping with my back issues as well. One thing that I do have patients that bring their kids in for, but sometimes it's more outside education, and I'll explain what I mean by that. But the birthing process sometimes has some trauma to the neck area. Sometimes we're usually born head first, and some of the pressure applied to the neck area, and even today, forceps and suction is sometimes used to aid with that, so they can affect the upper cervical area, and there can be some impact with things like colic, ear infections. The eustachian tube can be affected by the upper cervical area. It's usually, unfortunately, it's not always a first response that a patient says, Sally's got an ear infection, we got to go see the chiropractor.
Except in my case.
Yes, except in your case. My daughter's got to get in to see you right now. I know you're busy, but she's got to get to see you. But it's usually, hey, this is the fourth time that Susie's, had to have antibiotics. Honey, we may need to think of something else, another alternative, because, we don't want her to get to where the antibiotics are not being as effective as they used to be. And so anyway, use maybe a friend, friend group or a friend of theirs that says, hey, you might try chiropractor. I mean, our kid had a lot of success with it. And so that's a lot of times how we see kids, is by some of our patients that have had good experiences have mentioned that. But I did have a child the other day that had colic, really gassy, constipated. Honestly, the parents, raccoon eyes there, because they hadn't slept for like 2 weeks. Immediately after I adjusted this child, it just blew out his diaper. And the parents are like, oh no, we're sorry. Like, well,
the child feels better.
The child feels better. Go ahead and clean them up, and we'll finish the treatment.
There will not be any B-roll on that.
But it just goes to show, if there's an impingement in the nervous system, that when that pressure's taken off, that you can see an immediate change.
Yes.
It is so cool to see that happen there.
Yep. Well, I wanted to bring this information to you because it is so valuable, and just like he said, a lot of times it's the last thing that people consider, but I just want to encourage you to make it the first thing that you consider, because so many times, what would have happened to me? I know what would have happened to me. I've seen it play out in other people's lives. What would have happened to me when I went to the doctor with scoliosis, once they found that out, is they would have wanted to operate.
That's true.
And if I didn't know what I know, then that probably would have been the path, and that could have ended up very different for my life. And
Absolutely.
so I'm so grateful for the information that I have been given, and for the way that we have handled our health care.
Absolutely. And through your experience, that was a while back, our knowledge base has increased a lot, so we don't have to send you to Louisiana anymore to get care for that. We can help you here in office.
That's
so
right.
thank you for that.
Absolutely. Awareness has got to start somewhere.
I appreciate the opportunity for us to discuss this, and I'm hoping that if you haven't experienced chiropractic care, that you keep that mindful.
Absolutely.
And we'd love to see you be another success story and enjoy a better quality life.
Yes.
And if you need to get a camper,
we know where to send you.
we'll refer you out for that. But I can definitely help you in chiropractic through that with your quality of life there.
Yeah,
So.
and he's located in Clemson, South Carolina, and I'll put that address up for you to be able to get in touch if you're local to this area. So I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening, and I hope that you have enjoyed all of this amazing information and that it serves you well.
Absolutely. Good talking to you folks.
You guys have a great day.
Absolutely.
Bye.